In this video we're going to take a look at creating arrays here within C# and kind of understand how they're used and basically what they are. So to begin with, I'm going to go ahead and create a new project. I'm going to go File, let's go to New Project, and I'm going to choose a Windows Form application. I'm going to go ahead and call this one Arrays, and then I'll go ahead and hit OK. And now here for the GUI side of this, I'm going to go ahead and add two objects. I'm going to add a button and I'm going to add a list box to my form to work with, so that I can actually run some of this code and actually see the results of it. The button, I'm going to go ahead and give it a name of CMD OK, and I'm going to change the text property of this button to actually just say OK. And then the list box, I'm going to go ahead and give the list box a name of LST output. That's what I usually like to have on it. That way I know what I'm working with as my objects. And I'm going to go ahead and just double click on the OK button to take us here to the code view, and we're going to be working here in the CMD OK click event, so that we can, our method that we've got. So basically what happens is whenever we click the button, this is the code that'll run. So we're going to go ahead and begin now by creating our first array. And similar to a variable, we started off with the data type that we want. And really what the big difference is between an array and a variable is the array will hold multiple values, or what's called elements, within it rather than just one value, which we're used to assigning when we create a variable. We still started off with the data type that we choose, and so they're all going to be strings. All of our values or elements will be strings in here. And so what I'm going to do that's different now is I'm going to actually use a opening and closing or square bracket. That's going to tell it that it's an array, not just a single variable. And so I'm going to go ahead now and give it a name. I'm going to call it str, and I'm going to call this variable sizes. And for this application, we're going to create an array that stores the sizes of shirts, t-shirts, into one basic array here. So it's going to store multiple values into this one. So str sizes, and we're going to say it's equal to, now to be proper we need to create a new instance of this, so I'm just going to use quite simple just the keyword new, and we're going to type in string one more time, but this time I'm going to go ahead and tell it how many of them I want to create. I want to create, for this case I'm going to create 5 of them. I want to hold 5 values into this one array. So now I can actually set the values. I'm going to go ahead and use the curly brace here to set all 5 of these. The first one I want to use is going to be, since it's a shirt, we're going to go ahead and say XS for extra small. The next one, and I need to use the double quotes here because it's a string, I want to do the S for small. Then we're going to do the M for medium, the L for large, and we'll do the extra large here for the last one. And I'll go ahead and close this array and end that with a semicolon and hit enter. So now I've actually just created my array. The array's name is called str sizes, and it's got all 5 of these values stored in it. And now you're going to ask, well, how in the world do I get to these 5 values, or how do I use these 5 values? And let's go ahead and do that. I'll show you how we're going to do this. I'm going to type in LST output. This is my list box, and I'm going to go ahead and add some stuff to this one. I'm going to go ahead and type in items and .add, and then I'm going to go ahead and add to it my first element of my array. So I'm going to type in the array's name, which is str sizes. And then after this array, I'm going to go ahead now and actually tell it to list one of my arrays. I'm going to pick 1 to start with. Array number, I want the value or the placeholder 1. And I've got 5 of them here to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the one of them and end that with a semicolon. And now I want to run my application to see what happens. And here's our form. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK, and boom, S comes up. S, you're going to say, well, how in the world did S get shown or to get displayed here in my application? I told it to pick the first one, or pick number 1. Well, the reason for that is because this is actually spot 0. They start with counting, or not with counting numbers, but actually whole numbers, which is going to start with spot 0 here, and then spot 1, and then spot 2, and then spot 3, and then spot 4. So we actually have this is number 4, the 4th placeholder, starting with 0 here. So our counting is kind of one off, and that's something to keep in mind. We always start counting with 0 when it comes to arrays. So it's going to be actually always 1 less than the number we create is going to be our last one. So we start with 0. So I'm actually working with number 1 here, which is actually this place right here, which is going to be S. So what we're going to do now is I'll go ahead and change that to a 0. I'm going to go ahead and stop the debugging here. I still have this going on, so I'll just stop the debugging. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and change that now to a 0. And you'll see that if we run it again, I hit OK, you'll see now that extra small actually comes up here because that's actually spot 0. And I'm going to go ahead and close that. Let's go ahead and just to show you what we would normally do, I'm going to Control C to copy that stuff, and I'm just going to paste it and just kind of change these from, instead of a 0, I'm going to do that spot 1, spot 2, spot 3, and spot 4. And so now if I run my application one more time, we're going to see that on our form, if I hit OK, all of these, all 5 of these are displayed here. Spot 0, spot 1, 2, 3, 4. And so this is basically creating our first array, setting values to these, so we initialize and declare our array here one line, one kind of easy line to do that. I prefer doing it all on one line, it's easy to do. And then I've gone ahead and actually viewed each one of those elements by putting it in the list box. And so this is the first video we've got here on arrays, just kind of getting the idea of how to create an array and what an array is.